What's up, guys? Kirk Gibson here. Today I'm going to talk about the World Ultimate Championships, the 2024 tournament that was in the Gold Coast of Australia. Beautiful Gold Coast, Australia. It was, I just got to say, this, I believe, is the pinnacle of our sport. There is nothing better than putting on your country's flag, country's colors, and representing your country. Now, I know some people would disagree with me, and I want to be clear. This is not the hardest tournament. And I'll speak from the USA perspective. It's not the hardest tournament to win. USA Ultimate Nationals. I'm sure the European Championships. The World Club Championships. Those tournaments are harder to win for most teams. The competition overall is higher. There is a less of a disparity of play. The U.S. teams in general are much stronger, particularly in the men's and the mixed division. The women's, as we saw, Colombia gave the U.S. women a challenge. And I called that from the start. It was very clear to me that the U.S. was pretty much, unless something crazy happened, they were going to win both the men and the mixed. And we knew that Colombia, they beat them at TEP earlier in the year, had a chance to beat the U.S. women. They had their chances, but they weren't able to pull it out. But nonetheless, even though it is not the hardest tournament, it is still, in my opinion, the pinnacle of the sport. You are playing, regardless of what country you're from, you're playing with roughly the top 25 players in your country on that team. And to me, there's no cooler thing to participate in and win on the world stage. It happens every 4 years. I happen to be a part of the team 3 times. I won gold in Sakai in Japan in 2012, in London in 2016, and then I was on the 2020 team, and we all know what happened. That tournament obviously didn't happen because of COVID. So it'd been 8 years since the last tournament in London, and it was awesome. I got to watch some of the games, and I was obviously rooting for the U.S. teams. I'm glad they won, but it was just a great tournament. So my hope for this tournament in the future is that more people and more teams take their best players. I think for a lot of countries they did, but I do know of some countries that weren't able to take their best players because of financial reasons, which makes sense. They weren't able to afford the expensive trip to the Gold Coast of Australia. Now, I don't disagree. It's a beautiful venue, but I think when it's in Europe, it's just generally easier for a lot more teams to go just with the concentration of countries. And, like I said, I do know some people that didn't go because they prioritized whether it's the European National Championships over this. And I understand that. Everybody's financial situation is different, and you need to do what's best for you. But I would love to see if, countries were able to figure out how to send their best players to compete at the World Ultimate Championships and give their best. I think it's the best thing for the sport. So countries can feature their best players during the tournament. So nonetheless, it was great competition. But as we kind of aspire to something greater for our sport, I would really love to see that. So the last thing that I have for thoughts on the World Ultimate Championships is a lack of a objective third party that can make active calls and or step in sooner. So my experience, some of the games are hard to watch, and this game in particular was hard to watch. And the reason is because in the U.S., we have active observers. They can make active calls, and they step in to make calls and move the game along. WFDF rules, international play, they don't have that. They have what's called game advisors. They're the people in green, and they generally kind of only step in if they are asked, and then they provide their opinion, but players can then just still contest or, say, no, you know what, I disagree with you. But in the U.S., if you go to the Observer, whatever they say, that ends up being the call. So, there's certainly a strategy if you're kind of not sure or, it's a risk to potentially go. So you just send it back and you call it a day, right? But at the end of the day, the problem with it is that games just take too long and they're hard to watch. It slows it down. And so this is the first game I watched, and there were over 10 instances where the game was slowed down by, a minute or more. At one point, I counted 2.5 minutes of stoppage just to talk about a call. And it just, I don't think it's good for the game. It is hard to watch as a fan, and I know this game isn't played for the fans. I know the game is, one of its core tenets is, spirit of the game or sportsmanship, and I get that. I do think that integrity in how you make calls is really important. It's a great life skill to say, hey, despite the heat of competition, I'm going to say, yeah, you know what, I fouled you. Or, you know what, yeah, that was a goal, right? You were in, or whatever. But I think we can get to that without so much stoppage time. And in this case, they didn't even make it to 15. And, that happens in USA Ultimate games sometimes if there's wind or whatever. I know these teams played zone if you watch this game, but it just was hard to watch. And, so I'm just going to show you just a few examples that we're going to go into here. But you can even hear the announcers talk about it. And I only had to watch this one game to find out what the story of the tournament was, because even the announcers were like, yeah, there was a decent amount of spirit timeouts throughout this tournament. So let's just watch a few things just so you can see. Okay, so I'm going to press play here. You're going to see number 50 throw, and he's going to call foul on the defender. And I just want you to notice the time when that happens, and you can just see how long it takes. This is, again, just one example here. So I'm just going to play it. See the French guy throws it, calls foul. So this guy's going to take a walk, frustrated with the call. So it was just under 49 minutes when it happened.
Rather than taking out on his teammate, takes a couple of steps, walks away, maybe some expletives under his breath, and then comes back with a cool head.
So about 30 seconds in, game advisor just got over there. You can tell, I mean, the French guy speaks English, but, I think, yes, it's international play, but the communication just takes longer. See, now we're a minute in, the game advisor still hasn't stepped in.
I love the chatter from the rest of the stack here, Katie. Just contest it. I think these two are going to be matching each other for quite a lot of the game, and maybe they just need to say, we're probably not going to agree on a lot of things. Yeah. And the game advisor's trying to hurry them on. Or not hurry, just keep them to the time limit. Yeah, time limits, of course, yeah. Because you do want the game to flow. There have been a decent number of spirit timeouts this tournament, but just giving that...
So you just heard the announcer say there have been a decent number of spirit timeouts in the tournament, and you don't have to go far on YouTube to see, moments that, just the kind of the friction of international play at this level of tournament can be hard. I mean, think back to Canada versus Japan in 2012, where Japan literally just sat down on the field out of frustration because they felt Canada was just playing way too aggressively. So obviously that didn't happen here, but regardless of that, it's just like hard to watch. So that's one of, if you watch this game, there's like over 10. There's certainly a lot more calls, but some got resolved much quicker. But there's quite a few where it was a significant amount of time between it. And so here, I'm just going to show you one other one just so you can see. Okay, so foul call at 2:47. And I'm just going to play this. I'm just fast forwarding here. You saw the time. It was 2:47. They're still talking about it. Still talking about it. And, I mean, now they're looking at video. The guy's trying to find somebody's phone to figure out what's happening. It looks like they're looking at the live feed of the stream. And this goes on. You look at the time. It goes on for 2.5 minutes. Still looking at the phone, talking about it. It was at 2:47, and by the time they finally checked the disc back in, yeah, it's about 20, just past that. So this is, again, there's another example of it later here in the soft cap time of looking at the video, and I love the idea of them getting to the right answer. I love that. I want to get to the right answer. If it's a foul, it should be a foul, but there's got to be a better way than just letting this just run on, and because it's just hard to watch, and I don't think it's good for the game. So anyway, so those are my thoughts. Would love to hear your comments. If you were there, would love to see what you thought of the rest of the tournament. If you were maybe even watching this game, what did you see? But again, I think this is the best tournament in the world. It is the pinnacle of our sport. I hope this continues to grow and more teams continue to kind of power up and are able to send their best players. I think it's great for the sport. I hope there's more competition internationally to give the U.S. better games. I would love to see the mixed and men's division continue to be pushed. I know that's happened in the past and would love to see that again. And on the international stage, I'd love to see observers that can come in and make active calls and move the game along. I'm all for sportsmanship and integrity and showing good spirit to other teams, but I think the cost is just too high, and I think there's a better way to do it. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. God bless.